Good afternoon from the graveyard. Yes, I did say good afternoon, not good morning. And there she is, look, whoever, over there. And I'm gonna take a comfy seat in the warmth and just swivel round. In the warmth of the graveyard for today's graveyard ramblings. Now, I should start off today by issuing a trigger warning. Now, I've been told by a friend of mine in Brighton, hello, that I should give a trigger warning because nowadays the youth, the younger people of a nervous disposition require to be given a warning when anything even remotely rude, licentious or downright filthy is going to be said, explained, shown, whatever. Because if they don't get the warning, they could hyperventilate, they could take offence, frankly, they could die. Now, I don't want these graveyard ramblings to result in deaths, funnily enough, considering where we are. So, consider this a trigger warning. There is the possibility of the words fart, bum, knickers and sausage being said in this video, and therefore I should warn accordingly. I mean, they might not occur. There may be no fart, there may be no bum, there may be no knickers, there may be no sausage. But just in case there is, consider yourself warned. And the gag that is the purpose of this video, that I shall tell a bit later on, may or may not contain filth. So consider yourself trigger warned. Now, my old school friend Jackie, who I absolutely adore and who was, and still is actually, the funniest person that I've ever met in my entire life, told me this gag at the pub in Tunbridge Wells on Christmas Day 1978. How can I be so sure of this, you ask? Well, you probably don't, but you're going to hear it anyway. It's because we recorded it. I had this little Philips cassette recorder thingamadoodle squiff, which I have told about before actually on these ramblings. And I took it out with me and recorded Jackie, Christine, Carol and myself down the pub at lunchtime on Christmas Day in 1978 in Tunbridge Wells. I was 20, I think, yes, 20 years old then. So you can imagine that the discussions that we had and the laughs we had were probably not for broadcast these days. I still have the tape, oh yes, and it's been digitised. But whenever I hear it back, apart from some rather disgusting talk that Carol's giving about her then boyfriend Michael, who she then went on to marry, funnily enough. Hello, Michael, if you're watching this, don't worry, I'm not going to spill the beans. Basically because Carol would kill me if I did, but it is very funny. Well, not that you're funny, but you get my drift. Any roader. So that was probably one of the funniest bits, but the other funniest bit were Jackie's jokes. And I've decided that because I'm not a stand-up comedian and I'm not a natural joke teller, that having gone to the trouble of a trigger warning, I may as well let rip, quite frankly, and tell this gag. So that's to come. Now, just for those of a nervous disposition, well, you shouldn't even be watching now, quite frankly. So I'm just wondering, I can't really tell this gag, and it is the building site gag for those of you experienced jokers amongst you, comedians, and you see already they know probably where this is going. Well, it's a good job somebody does, because I don't. But then it is a rambling. I never promised you any format. I never promised you any strategy. I never promised you a rose garden. So, anyway. There is the building site gag. There is also the faith healer gag, which is probably my favourite gag of all time. That was also told to me by Jackie. We had a few, and the trouble is that the faith healer gag is so politically incorrect that I would probably be arrested if I tried to tell that in one of these. It might make me more famous or infamous, but there's no way I can tell that one yet, unless I can figure out a way of actually making it even remotely acceptable. but I don't think that's very likely. So here we go. I'm going to tell you the famous building site gag, as told by Jackie. Now, I can't do it with the same conviction and mirth that she did. You've got to hear the way she tells it to get the real drift of it. So here goes. There were these blokes. By the way, I have censored this to make it slightly less racist. Anyway. There were these blokes on a building site, and unfortunately, one of them gets his ear chopped off. And whilst they're all looking around on the floor for it, one of his mates suddenly finds an ear on the floor, and he picks it up and he says, "Here!" He said, "I found this ear. Is this your ear?" And the bloke looks down and he says, "No, mine had a pencil behind it." Now, I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard in 1978. But that was 44 years ago, so forgive me, or probably even longer than that, 45 years ago. So I wanted to tell that to put it on record that is, for me, one of the funniest gags ever. I only wish I could fulfill my destiny and tell you the faith healer gag. Some of you might know it already. I don't know, maybe more experienced than me. Who knows? Anyway, that's about it. I'm baking here. That makes a change, doesn't it? Because I was freezing my nuts off the last time I came here to do a graveyard report. So, bye-bye.